Hey everybody, welcome to episode 2 of the Actions Lifestyle Podcast, where we discuss various aspects of managing real estate and our personal growth. Actions is an acronym for my core values that I live by and strive by. That's strive to uphold, that's advancement, community, tenacity, integrity, optimism, networking, and the strength that it all brings. If you don't understand my breakdown of that, I did it in the first episode. You can go back and check that. My name is Kenny Clark. I'm a licensed property manager with over 3 years of experience in the industry and about 8 years casually. I have my own rentals and I'm on a journey of becoming the best version of myself. If you're listening to the audio version of this, you can head over to my YouTube as well, where these are going to be uploaded. So, the title of today's episode is Overcoming the Fear of Inexperience in Property Management. So, it's a lack of property management stops a lot of people, whether it's, managing your own properties or you're an actual licensee. So, I'm going to this is going to be more towards the landlords, but there's going to be some advice in here for the property managers as well. So, we're going to talk about a few different things here. First, I have 5 topics, but we're going to start talking about educating yourself, basically. So before you get into the industry or you get into managing rentals, you should really do some research first. When I first got into this, I didn't know what I was doing. I basically knew that I wanted a property. I wanted it to have a basement suite. I didn't want to pay the bills on it, so I was going to have someone pay the bills. I also house hacked, what people like to call it now, which renting out a room in my own suite. And I rented that out to a roommate for, I think, like $500 a month. So I really had no bills that I had to take care of, except for, I think, it was under 500 a year for my property taxes and city utilities that I had to pay for, basically, that weren't covered by the rent. But I didn't know what I was doing. I had no clue. So I knew that there were some contracts that I could fill out, like a lease. I don't even know if my first tenancies had them. I don't think my first 3 had any leases at all. It was just, oh, hey, I know you want a suite, move in. Awesome. Let's do this. I remember I got into a bit of a feud with my friend who was my tenant, and now he's not my friend. Probably has something to do with that. But they didn't do any cleaning. They didn't really take care of the place very much. Bunch of damage from the dogs and stuff. And I was like, "You're not getting your deposits back, man." And in BC, oh, sorry for my chair. It probably just sounds like I'm letting them rip here. But in BC here, there's a process we need to follow. So if a tenant provides me their forwarding address, I have 15 days to either return it or dispute it, and I need proper evidence. If I don't do that, they can dispute it with the residential tenancy branch and actually get awarded twice their deposits. So in BC, at least, it's very important that you do that. I've done rental references for tenants that are moving in from out of province and in Alberta, and I've asked those references, "Hey, are you getting? Did the tenants get their damage deposit back?" And they're like, "Oh, well, they got most of it back. I always hold 10% of it back just because," and then they got the other 90%. I'm like, "Holy, well, that would be illegal to do here. Here, we need to get their signature. We can't be vague." I've actually lost an RTB hearing over that because the tenants agreed to get rid of their deposit and for me to use it for this, this, and this. But because I didn't put exact numbers of what those invoices would come to, the tenants disputed it and they won. The arbitrator was like, "Okay, yeah, the tenants agreed. You were able to do that. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. But you didn't dispute it. And now you owe double your deposit." So instead of the tenant owing us, like, I think it was like $35 on top of their deposits, we basically had to issue them a full deposit return minus 35 because they also awarded us the damages that the tenants caused. It made no sense. But the point is, educate yourself. So if you're in BC, there's lots of groups you can join. I don't really recommend Facebook groups when you're trying to get legal information, unless it's local to you. So, if you're in Arkansas, look up the Arkansas State profile groups that are landlord oriented or property management. For us, there's Landlord BC, I think it's called, something along those lines. And that's who I ended up joining with after about my 3rd tenancy. So really, like, educate yourself. I got into property management because I was actually looking for a property manager for one of my rentals. And I ended up finding a tenant while I was talking to him. And when I got into this industry, within months, I was realizing how much stuff I was doing wrong. Now, thankfully, I mean, like morally looking back, I didn't do anything bad. I didn't rob anyone of their deposit. I just didn't go through the proper legal structure properly. And it came very apparent when I got into this. So, like, if you're in BC, if you're in another province, if you're in another state, a lot have their own tenancy branch, which is like a government entity. Um, Give them a call. There's usually a hotline. Like for RTB, there's a hotline. You go online, RTB hotline phone number, dial that in, dial 5, then 1 when you get to their prompts. You can tell I've done this a lot to get through all their prompts, and you can just speak to someone and get general information. They can't really give you advice. They can't tell you how to go forward, but at least you're getting the proper information. You can say, hey, my tenant is breaking their lease. I don't know what to do, and they'll kind of guide you. They won't advise you exactly what to do, but they'll advise you and tell you the proper way that something should be done, not necessarily the way that you should do it. So now, like I kind of mentioned, the Facebook groups. There's a wealth of knowledge in there. If you go into a Facebook group, especially for landlords or property managers, you go up to the top, there's going to be guides. Sometimes people will put stuff in there. So I have a landlord mastery course that I'm building that'll be kind of based around Facebook and guides. And then there's also another tab called files. So you can go in there, and a lot of other landlords will upload their own addendums, their own information and leases that you can use. Here, there's not really a point in using your own lease. We have to use a standard form that's issued for it. It's called an RTB1 tenancy agreement, but you can addendum other stuff onto it. I think I have like a 7-page addendum with like 28 clauses in there that I have tenants sign. You can't contract out of the law, obviously, but just look around, ask questions, join these Facebook groups because people love to talk and give their advice. And a lot of the time, not all the time, if someone's wrong, people will correct them. So I'm the guy you see in there. Like I'm licensed. I don't like to give legal advice out like that. Even when I wasn't licensed, I'm the one that's in there and calling people out and saying, hey, you're doing this wrong. And then I'll I give some pretty vague advice in there because I don't want anything to come back on me. And then I guess your third option for kind of like education, I guess there'd be 4 in this category, would be local groups. So we have a meetup here for landlords. They haven't really been doing it as much as much since COVID hit. I think they do a lot of it like online now in Zoom calls. And even then, I mean, I'm not getting the emails anymore. So I either annoyed somebody or they just haven't done them in a couple months. If you're in a bigger city like Vancouver or Dallas or Edmonton or something like that, there's going to be a lot of these groups. There's going to be investor groups. So you can kind of rub shoulders with people who aren't just trying to mitigate their risk, they're trying to advance. So I think there's a big difference between landlords and real estate investors, although they do clash a little bit. But in general, it depends what you're looking for. But to keep on topic, I mean, take a look at the Facebook groups, ask around, try and find some of these local groups. Sometimes they'll do them at an old senior center, or they'll do them at the bar every first Tuesday of the month kind of thing. And it's not only a great place to ask questions, but they usually bring in speakers as well that'll educate you on like new law reforms or other issues that are going on in your area. But you also get to rub shoulders with these people. I mean, the first time I met my boss was there. There's an apartment investor in town here who I have a lot of respect for. And he was like the first person I introduced myself when I went to one of these meetings. Then adding him on Facebook like a year later, I realized who he was. I mean, put yourself out there, join some groups, ask around, ask someone that that's a landlord up the road. Like, hey, I'm looking to get into this. And any educational sources you can point me towards. If you're just becoming a landlord, there's not a lot out there. And that's kind of why I'm building a course, is to help with that. I think I might release a couple free ones first, just to kind of put it out there for people on how to do inspections. But I haven't really found a dedicated landlord course. There's a lot of investing ones. There's some that are kind of geared towards property managers, but in BC here, you need to be licensed. So, I mean, I got a book like that that's that thick on the legalities and stuff that I had to study to pass. Yeah, and so other than landlords, you can start building these connections with property managers as well. I mean, we're typically really busy. I'm pretty fresh into it, so I don't have a lot of my own clients yet, but I have a lot that I still manage under the brokerage here, that other property managers have brought in. And I've networked with a bunch too. There's a bunch of managing brokers I talk to that have a lot of experience. So I'm not sure about like the legalities and the structure of this everywhere else, but here at the very top, there needs to be a managing broker, and whatever that managing broker is licensed to do, the representatives underneath, so like real estate agents, property managers, strata managers, are able to do that. So if my managing broker only has a real estate trading services license, there's only going to be realtors that can work in my brokerage. Here we have our managing broker has property management and real estate trading services. So mostly focus on property management, but we have some realtors here as well. But I've gotten some great information from property managers. You can give them a call. I mean, a lot of the time they're not just going to want you to pick their brain because, you know, you're kind of wasting their time, but build that know, like, and trust factor. If you know some property managers in your town that you like, add them on Facebook. They might not accept it. They might. And they ask you like, hey, who are you? Why are you adding me? Say, oh, you know, I seen that you're a property manager in town. I'm just trying to network with more people in the industry. Hope your day's going good, man. Cheers, kind of thing. Because a lot of the time when people reach out, they're expecting a pitch. I get cold pitched so much in the DMs that when people, you know, there's lots I reach out to people that are investors too. And I don't want to just jump in their DMs and start fucking messaging them because I'm going to look like I'm a time waster. I don't know what I'm doing. So I add these people to Facebook and I just start engaging with them. You know, they post something or they post a picture of them and their family. I'll give it a heart react and say, oh, you have a beautiful family, man. Congratulations. Just little things. They poke jokes or, you know, I'm a pretty outgoing guy. I've got a pretty vulgar sense of humor. So I'm pretty comfortable when it comes to joking and kind of cracking jokes at people. I've learned what most people will find offensive and what they won't find offensive. And then once you know, I don't want to just say and go start making fun of people, but once you kind of crack that joke and you break that barrier, it kind of opens up a bit. Just like when you have a friend from work or something and you send them a meme and you're like, I don't know if I should send that. And they reply well to it. Now you guys are best friends. It's just kind of like that, right? Like, now I don't expect these people to be my best friend, but I've had people reach out to me who have followed me on Facebook that I didn't even know existed, or other ones that I do. They've reached out to me, and other people who I've reached out, and, you know, every once in a while, if I see an article that I think might interest them, I might Facebook it to them in the messages, and say, oh, hey, you know, or, you know, I have a list of people that I want to work through that I intentionally engage with. And I cycle through it. So it's not every day I'm going out and blasting these people, but, you know, I might do someone on Monday and get back to them by like Friday for another thing. And sometimes it's just like, hey man, you're crossing my mind. Hope you and the family are doing good, or hope your business is going well, or you crossed my mind. I seen you're looking kind of sad or something on Facebook there with your post. Just know that I'm here to listen to you, unbiased. You've got a friend in me. Hope you're doing good. Cheers. Just leave it at that. Something simple. You don't want to bug them. You don't want to harass them. Just want to let them know that you're there. And, you know, that's why I post a lot on Facebook regarding real estate, is that I'm trying to keep fresh on these people's minds. Like, I'm not always posting real estate stuff, but I'm always on people's feeds. I'm always getting engagement. So hopefully one day when they're sitting, you know, around in a room and they're like, hey, like, I'm looking for a property manager, someone on my friends list will be like, well, you know, I'm not into rentals. I don't have much experience with that, but I got this guy on my Facebook, Kenny Clark, and, you know, he seems pretty knowledgeable. He's always posting stuff, and, you know, he's always like chasing crackheads out of their buildings and stuff. It's that know, like, and trust factor. So I guess the biggest thing too is learning from your mistakes, but it might also be the most costly. So I've known people who have got hit with that double deposit payments. Same if you give the wrong eviction notice or you tick off the wrong box and the tenant disputes it, the RTB, the residential tenancy branch here, can deem that you actually owe that tenant 12 months of rent. So if you're renting a place out for $2,000, and even if you're evicting them in good faith, but you check off the wrong box, the RTB here, and it's been done. The guy literally just checked off the wrong box and said that his child was moving in rather than his parents, and they disputed that, and they got awarded like $46,000 because it was in bad faith. It wasn't in bad faith. The eviction notice was served wrong, but because there was an error, the RTB looked at black and white and said, this is the repercussion of a bad eviction notice. And it was just a clerical error. So if you're renting a place out for $2,000, that's going to cost you, $24,000. If it's $1,000, you might get charged $12,000 just because you're trying to evict someone and raise that rent up like improperly. So learn from your mistakes. If you have questions, ask. I mean, I don't want to tell you to go out and make a bunch of mistakes, but they're going to happen. And when you make those mistakes, take note of them. Don't let them happen again. Whether it's, you've got a loose stair or something that you haven't fixed and the tenant said, oh, it's okay. But then they fall down it or something. And even then, if they're like, oh, it's okay. It's just, I knew this step was bad. I was just in a rush. I forgot to step over that. You can get in a lot of trouble, and just kind of be mindful for these things. And if you can, fix these issues before they arise. And if, it's a hard lesson, like at work here, I've made a lot of mistakes. I'll own up to that. And I do own up to it. When I find out I made a mistake, I don't try and bury it. I don't try and hide it. I fix it. I go to my property manager or my managing broker and I say, hey, this happened. This is what I'm doing to fix it. This is how they reacted. And this is how it's playing out currently. And there's a lot of mistakes that I've made that are just, you can almost chalk it up to like a white lie. They're redundant. They don't really pose any effect or any harm or danger. But I realized that I messed up, and it's kind of like, I don't know if you listen to Andy Frisella, kind of like what they say. If you're walking by and you see a piece of paper on the floor, a piece of garbage, and you notice it, pick it up. Don't just leave it there. Do the right thing. If you're a guy and you're taking a leak and a little bit of pee splashes over onto the lip a little bit, just grab a piece of toilet paper and wipe it up and set it down. Because what, I'm tired of doing that for other dudes when I go to the bathroom. So yeah, there's not much I can really say when it comes to learning from your mistakes, other than learn from your mistakes. Be diligent, and if you're making a lot of them, reach out to me if you're in Prince George, and we can talk about me managing your property. If you're somewhere else, I mean, I know I have a pretty vast network, and I can probably refer you to someone, or refer you to someone that can point you in the right direction to someone that they've actually used. Now, when it comes to the property managers, this will be, I guess, more for the property managers, but if you're looking into a property manager as well, it's something to kind of vet and keep your eyes and ears open for. So we have, at least here we're licensed, we have a fiduciary duty to our clients. So we basically have to watch out for their bottom line, even to our own detriment within the laws. So if we really like a tenant, they're really good, and they're, just a few days late on their rent for the first time in 4 years, and the owner says, evict them. You owe a fiduciary duty to your client, to the owner, to evict them. So if you're looking for property management, the person owes you that care of duty, and that's standard of duty. When you hire a professional in the real estate industry, there's, we're expected to have a base understanding of the laws up to a certain point, and know what to do. So I see a lot of issues where they'll be like, oh, I've asked my property manager for a lease agreement for my tenants because I want them out. He hasn't sent it to me. I've asked 3 times. Now I haven't heard from him in over a month, and he's ignoring me. That is insane for me to hear. Okay, so like us, as soon as we get a signed document, we sign it. I mean, sure, if they do it at 5 p.m. at night, we probably won't get to it till the next day. but we send it to our clients. We have a portal, we upload it to them, and we share it with them. The tenant, they get it. The move-in inspection reports, they get all that. And then we also email it to them so that we know that they got that copy. They don't just have to rely on, checking for a notification that's been uploaded to their portal or go and check that. We do it. We send it to them. We send it to the tenants. And we have that duty, not only, professionally, but legally for our tenants. We have to get that out to them. I think it's within a week or two. I don't even know because we do it so quick. It's not even an issue right now. But we get it out to them within a day or two of it being completed, because we move them in, we come back, we process everything, and then we document it, file it away, done with it, so that makes our job easy, right? We also, like I said, we have to pay attention to the owner's bottom lines, because that's their investment. I don't want to toot my own horn and say, oh, we're investment asset managers or anything like that, but that's essentially what we're doing. It's a client's investment that they put, sometimes tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars into these, and they want it to perform. They don't want it to be a money sink for them. And it's a tough job at sometimes, because you have to follow the legalities around the tenants. And sometimes we'll have owners saying, hey, do this, or we want a daily late fee imposed on them if they're late. It's like, well, we can't do that. We can do a one-time $25 late fee per month per arrears, essentially. So if they still haven't paid by, it's July 7th, if they still haven't paid by July 1st, it's June, or they're still in arrears, or they've accumulated, and then we can charge again another $25. So it's a fine line between, doing everything by the book, being legal, and looking out for your client's bottom line, because they're our client. The tenant isn't our client. The owners are, and they're the ones who, it's their property, right? So as a property manager, a huge thing that we have to think about is optimizing and stabilizing their investments. So a little bit off track here, but for the property managers, this is something that you need to know. And if you don't, start Googling it. Is optimizing. So optimizing, it's the dirty side of property management. It's the side no one wants to put out there. And it's kind of the stuff people don't talk about in public. It's the raising the rents and, bringing your client's bottom line up. If the property is making $10,000 a month when they buy it, or $5,000, they're making $10,000. We want to try and get that up to $13,000. I want to try and get up to $18,000, so that they're making that money too. And not only is that going to increase their money, but as a property manager, we take a percentage off of the rents that we collect, and that'll help you as well. And stabilizing is, once you get it there, making sure it stays there. You don't just, buy an old building, bring a bunch of bad tenants in there who can kind of pay the first month or two, and then it just goes to trash. You want to, build a community in there of people who are going to pay their rent. Sometimes that involves evicting people. If there's drug dealers in there, if there's people not paying their rent, if there's people that are under rent as well too. We have a lot of a lot of people will ask their property managers to go evict them because they're paying $700 and market rent is $300. Well, to starters, that's kind of where it comes into, the fiduciary duties within legalities, is we can't just go and say, hey, your rent is low, get out. But if we go back to we really like the tenant, but they are, they're late, then sorry, you didn't pay your rent. We're going to evict you. Just as an instance, when I was, personal property, I had a tenant who I was trying to get rid of for a long time, and I didn't know what I was doing. And then I issued a rent increase, and they missed their rent increase. It's a 3-month notice. And I served it to them. I think I gave them 3.5 months. and it was like a $7 increase, and the tenant actually missed that, and I was able to evict him on that. And the house was a flop house. I tried to evict for all the drug use and all the complaints. I showed all the letters, showed inspection reports where they moved in. The house was like it was nice. It was freshly redone, not renovated, but it was modernized a little bit. And then the inspections show the floors being warped. There's holes in the walls. The fucking doors are off. There's no closet doors or anymore. And RTB just basically, I don't even remember what they said yet, but I did not win that eviction. But I won an uncontested eviction over $7 for the same person. Pick your battles, I guess. And now kind of what that's going into is the community impact too, which is what I like to think is my main core value. Is how is this rental going to impact your community? Whether if you're a landlord or you're a property manager, the tenants that you place are going to affect the community that is that building, that neighborhood, that town or county, or so if be careful of who you place in, and just think forward a little bit. Like when I'm going day to day, I'm trying to think a couple generations ahead. When I'm putting in people into my rentals, I have that in mind too, but I'm also thinking ahead of how are these people going to impact the community. Now, I don't care if a person works or not, as long as they have income, that's fine by me, and it's legal and verifiable. And we can't discriminate for that here. If someone's ministry paid or welfare paid, I can't say, oh, no, sorry, you don't have a job, get the fuck out. I can't say that. I'd probably get hit with 12 months of rent to pay them, which I don't want to do because my rent sits somewhere around $1,500 to $2,000. So how is it going to impact your community? You have someone in there that, they're already in the community, they're in the public's eye, or, it doesn't even have to go as that far. It's more, you don't want them to negatively impact your community. So when I'm thinking about like my clients, I want to make sure that they want to fix their buildings, because if they don't want to fix their buildings and they just want it to, keep deferring it until it falls apart and then either sell it or then kind of worry about it. It's like, okay, well, what's the impact on myself, the business, and you, the client, and the actual building itself? Well, we'll start there. If the building itself starts deteriorating, you're not going to get those A-class tenants in that you hope for. You're not going to get the tenants that are going to pay the top of market, because the building isn't top of market. It's bottom of market now, and maybe it was a B plus and now it's like a C minus property. And then the more that it deteriorates, the tenants that are in there are going to get fed up and they're going to leave. And then the people who do eventually move in, they're, you got to think, who are the kind of tenants that are going to move into a place with a really stained carpet? The blinds are all messed up, no closet doors, there's no screens on it. The outside of the building, the sign is falling apart because the owner doesn't, they don't want, or you don't want to pay the $20 to go and screw it back onto the post or something like that. It's really going to negatively impact the community and the vibe of that building. Now you have the people around that. They're going to start, the people in the building, maybe they're attracting people who are unsavory or they're transient tenants. And now you've got these people walking through your neighbors' yards into this all times of the hour, because, there's a meth head living in there now. And you've got people coming in 3 a.m, walking through the properties of your neighbors, maybe stealing stuff, maybe not, maybe they're just cutting across the lawn. But now you're going to deal with that headache because you've got police presence at your property. You've got the neighbors calling you saying, hey, what the fuck is going on here? And if you're an owner, whether you have someone managing it for you or not, you really got to think about what you're kind of marketing, what you're putting out there, what you think is acceptable. So if you think of like, you've probably been at work, and there's that one person who started being late and there were no repercussions for it. There was no reprimands for it. So they started being a little bit longer in the mornings. They started calling in a little bit more because everyone was lenient about it. The supervisors were like, man, whatever. And now you've got the guy who's doing awesome sitting in the corner, and he's like, hey man, I come in here and I bust my balls. Like, I don't even, I don't take breaks half the time I'm working. So why is this person who's only been in here for a few months coming in late all the time? And that's totally okay. Well, hey, if my shower goes a little late tomorrow morning, I don't care if it's a few minutes late. And then that's just how that whole mentality starts to snowball. And you want to avoid it professionally with your investments, because it's just gonna start deteriorating everything. So yeah, that pretty much sums up what I wanted to go over today. Is just, dealing with a lack of experience and handling that fear, and how to deal with it. So if you have any kind of fear or any kind of worries in life, I like to say that nothing in life that's worth having is going to be easy. It's not going to come to you easy. If you want to be successful and you're a property manager and you want to be managing 5,000 doors, it's not going to be easy. If you're a property owner and you're an investor, or you want to be an investor and you want to get to 500 doors like me, that is not going to be easy. It's going to be very hard, and the price you're going to have to pay is more than you want to pay. Well, I'll just to quote Sean Pollard, the price you're going to have to pay to get to your dreams are more than you will want to pay. It's going to be expensive as shit. Okay. And yeah, so you got to educate yourself before you get into this. Don't do what I did. I got very, very lucky, and I had tenants that didn't know the law, like I do now. Now, you can almost say that might be preying on the ignorant, but I was ignorant too. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And the only reason I talk about it now is the last that happened was probably 3 years ago. And the statute of limitations is like 12 months. So educate yourself, join some local Facebook groups. If you call a property manager, you're probably not going to have too much luck. They're not just going to answer a bunch of questions because you're not their client. If you pay for one, I mean, they'll start giving you advice like that when you ask questions and stuff. Look for some like local meetups. That's usually where you'll get to meet actual landlords and other investors rather than just seeing them in like a Facebook group. But put yourself out there too. If you know there's a like investor in town or landlord in town, send them a message or send them a friend invite. If they don't accept it or they deny it, wait a little bit, send them a message and be like, hey, I've seen you're pretty prominent in the city for investing. I've been looking to get into it myself. Just wanted to introduce myself. Now, don't start asking questions. That's what I did. And I'm really surprised I got the answers that I asked for. But if you just start, oh, hey, can I pick your brain? That's telling that person that you don't respect their time. At the very least, say, hey, I've been really interested in getting into rentals. You have any interest in going out for coffee or lunch someday? I'll pay. And offer that. And, don't just, when you get into that situation, don't just jump in and start saying, oh, I have these 25 questions that I've been writing down for you. Let them come naturally. If you're going out for lunch and you're sharing, or maybe not sharing, but you're having poutine and whiskey or something with him, casually bring it up. You might get an answer or two out of him, and you might not, but you've built that friendship. And in the future, if something comes up, you can say, hey man, like my tenant just gave me notice halfway through the month. Doesn't seem right. Do you have any recommendations on what I can look into, or a resource you can link me that I can check this out for myself? So you're not actually asking them for questions or direct advice. It's just more of, hey, I'm wanting to figure this out myself. I'm showing you the initiative, but I don't know what to do. And they might just give you the answers. So educating yourself is huge. And once if you get a good tenant, don't stop educating yourself. Even as a licensee, we have to take two continuing education classes between every 2 years to keep our license going. So even the professionals, we have to educate ourselves. Now, you want to network with other people. Make sure you get into those rooms. learning from your mistakes and a continuous improvement, which, I like to think is tenacity and advancements when we look into core values. Just always strive to be a better version than you were yesterday. You might not make that 5% difference. You might not make that big leap, but if you take one step, you watch one video, you read one article about a law reform or some kind of tenancy law in your area, you're going to get a little bit better over time. You're not going to learn it overnight. It's not going to happen. And yeah, that pretty much sums everything up. We went over a recap. I hope I gave you some actionable advice there. If not, let me know in the comments. Tell me I fucked up, and I'll try and make the next one a little bit better for you. So yeah, be sure to head over to my Facebook group. It's North American Real Estate Investors on Facebook. If you are in BC, I have one, another one for landlords. It's called Landlords BC. I try and post information on there, and reach out to me on Facebook. I have room in my friends list, so send me an invite, send me a message. I'm happy to talk with people, and yeah, if you like what you heard today, leave me a comment, subscribe, whatever social media platform you're listening on, and it really helps me, tells me that people are getting something out of what I'm teaching or what I'm talking about. And if you didn't, or there's something else that you'd like to hear, let me know. I'd love to hear. I take criticism very well, but if you're not an investor, and you start giving me investing advice, I'm probably not going to listen to you. But if there's other stuff that you want to hear, let me know. I appreciate it. And yeah, always open to learning. I hope you have a great day. Thanks.